Let's see if we can get this started then. Hey everyone, happy to have you here. Can you hear me good? So let's see. So what I've pretty much done is you can see in the description I created a repository, and I have read some beforehand because getting into RxVMS is a bit more complicated than the other ones. You can check the blog post where Thomas, then the creator, has created like a series of blog posts that you can read about getting into RxVMS. I pretty much read that and then just getting to understand pretty much how we're going to set this up. So we're going to start to have a dependency of RxStart because most of this is, or pretty much everything of this is based on streams. Rx commands, which is pretty much a helper to handle streams a lot easier. We're using getit for the dependency injections. So pretty much this will be replaced instead of provider. And then of course HTTP, so we can do the same as the last ones. So what I've also done is pretty much just created folders. So one for managers, models, pages, and services. And we'll get into all of that as well. Hello, Pratik. Maybe it is. I was going to say Patrick. Hello, Hello, Pratik. So let's see here. So what we're going to start off is just creating that boring counter example. So pretty much this one, but with using streams. So let's see. Hey James, hey Sebastian. Hey Henry, how are you doing? So what we're going to first do is pretty much create a what's it called? Pretty much a service locator. So this service locator will be handled for instantiating all of our classes inside the getit. So service locator.dart. And we will create a global getit. You can name this whatever you want. I'm just going to give it the name SL for service locator. Hey Eamon, everything is good here. How are you? So let's see here. So now we're pretty much going to create the service locator class, or not a class, but a global function which we can use in the start of main, so we can instantiate everything in the getit. Let's see, what did they call it? Set up service locator. And I'm just going to let's see, do it like this. Hello Anugu, how are you doing? So this service locator will pretty much use the global instance of our getit, and then we can just call register a lazy singleton. Is it necessary to say getit equals getit, or can you just say getit? So pretty much if you just do it like this, the getit variable will not be instantiated, so this will just be null. But when we do this, it's like we are creating a new class with the new keyword, but that's optional now, so you can just write it like this. The type for this singleton will be something we haven't created actually, so maybe we'll just say register counter manager for now, and we will create our manager, and this manager is going to be the counter. So let's create inside the manager folder, and this will just be counter.dart. And we are going with the examples he used in the blog post, where he creates abstract classes. And the reason the reason for the abstract classes is so we can easily test later, but we're not going to test in this, but we're going to still have the same workflow pretty much. So counter manager, and this one will simply just have a sink and a stream. So if you remember, or if you don't know streams, this will be quite hard, but I will see if I can explain it as we go. So we'll create a Rx command, and this Rx command we can set the types. So we want to add some kind of value, and in this example we want to add, for example, I want to increment 10 each time instead of just 1. So we'll say we want to add a integer, and the value that this stream or Rx command is going to push out is going to be another integer. We're going to just call it add counter. So now when we create our counter manager implementation, we can then implement the counter manager. And this will just force us to add this add counter, if that makes sense. So to have this work, we need to have a internal state also, which will be the count. So count is equal to 0. Hey Eddie, how are you doing? So that will just be our like initial count. And now we're just going to instantiate or set the add counter to something, because as of now it's not doing anything. So in the constructor, we're simply going to take the add counter, and we're actually going to call the Rx command again. And then if we press dot here, we can see that we have quite a bit of functions. So we have create a sync and create sync, which is pretty much those that will be mostly used. This one will be a sync function. So create sync, and I'm just going to specify the types here for good measures again, which will be int. So the value we're going to get in will be called the count, and now we can open that up. Sorry for irrelevant question. Is it possible to draw canvas / put icon on the JSON formatted images? Is it possible to draw canvas / put icon on the JSON formatted images? I don't quite understand the question. So what we're going to do is each time this add counter is called, we're going to take our internal count or state. We're going to not equal it, but plus equal to the count we're passing in. And then we're simply just going to return our state, which is the count. So now we have our counter manager implementation. And with this, we can start to register the lazy singleton. sl.register lazy singleton. And we can say that this is going to be a type of counter manager. I'm just going to actually hide this one. And just make sure that we're using the correct import. So if you're using this one, we need to do the same for all of them. I'm just going to use so we can see from the start. I don't remember what this was called. So the function will simply be an arrow function with our creation of the counter manager implementation. So that's pretty simple. So now we have this registered in our getit. So what we need to do now is go to the main file. And we can start by just doing like this. How do you format images with JSON? Oh, I have no clue. Have never actually done that, so no clue at all. And we're going to see if I remember correctly. We're going to call our, no, not the SL. We're going to call our global function called set up service locator. And of course, if you remember, this is just going to register register the counter manager implementation in the getit. So like that. So now we should be able to pretty much do the counter page. So let's remove all of the state we have in here. This one will be replaced soon. The onPressed, we will just simply call our, let's make an anonymous function, call SL and import that. And then we can start by getting the counter manager counter. Let's see if I remember this correctly. If we're going to, hey Nash, how are you doing? Let's see if I remember this. Okay, so this one we don't need to set the implementation. We're just going to use that as a type and then instantiate the implementation. So now we can use this when we are actually getting it. And we can see, let's see. We can simply call, and of course we have to import that. And then the add counter. So inside this add counter, we can now pass a value because this is the Rx command. And we can see that this lets us pass a value. And that's going to be 10, for example. Now we can start creating a stream builder. A stream builder. And the type is going to be an integer. We're going to have the stream, which is again the same as this one. I believe it was, but we are not going to add anything, so we are just getting the stream. And we will have the initial data to 0 because we want the counter to start with 0. And then we're just going to have the builder. Context snapshot. Return snapshot. Oh, the text, of course. Let's see, and then we take the snapshot.data. So now we can see if we can restart this and see if everything is working. And now we can see that we're implementing with 10, but we have instantiated and everything is called from using getit. And then we're just calling the functions from the counter manager implementation. What extensions are you using for? Oh, let's see if I can show you. Error lens is, I believe it's called. I can write it here. For errors. Search for that and maybe you'll find it. So this is pretty much for the counter, right? So now let's do pretty much the same thing we have done with the other ones. So I will actually go to my old repository and we will start by creating the models. So new file, catfact.dart, and we can import that and just put that there. So let's see. So we have the models. We're going to have 2 more pages, right? Which will be the catfact page and catfacts page. I'm actually just going to start with the services, and the services is just going to be a abstraction of where we're actually doing the HTTP call. So let's just call it catfacts service.dart. It's nice to see that reactive programming is finally getting the attention it deserves. Yeah, I'm really a fan of reactive programming, and I feel some of the stage management solution that I've used the couple of weeks or the past couple of weeks or live streaming, I feel like they are missing quite a bit of that. So we'll see how this holds up. So this cat facts service is probably pretty much going to do the same thing as the other ones, just that it's a service instead. So we're going to create an abstract class called cat fact service. And this one will have a function which is going to return a list of cat fact. And this is just going to be called fetch cat facts, something like that, and we can import that one. So I pretty much already have the function here, because most of you have probably already seen me type this function like 10 times. So we're just going to create first off the class. The class will be a cat facts service implementation, which implements the cat fact service. So I'm just going to replace this with the actual function, and I'm going to also import the necessary code, which is this one, and then of course we're going to have the URL, which is just going to be at the top here, and JSON decode, of course. So this is pretty much just a class, and on that class we have one function called fetch cat facts, and this is just a nice way of having that service or your services decoupled from the other code, so we can have this service solely here. And of course we have to add that to the get it, because if we don't do that we won't actually have a way of getting it. So I will just add comments, so registers managers and registers services. So here we're, instead of registering a manager, or we're doing pretty much the same thing, but I'm just going to write this as a comment anyway. So service locator dot register, did I do it right? SL dot register lazy singleton. We're going to set the type, which is going to be cat fact service, and then we're going to create a function, and this one is going to take this one and then implementation, and then instantiate that. So with this line of code, we also are going to get, or be able to get, our service with get it. So let's see, what are we going to do now? We have the service. We're then going to create the actual manager. So if we go to our manager and create a new file, and this will be pretty much where we hold the states and the streams. Maybe we'll also replace or rename the counter to manager in then, but it doesn't really matter for now. So we're going to start with creating an abstract abstract class called cat fact manager. And on here we're going to have the different commands that we want, so, or the different functions that we want to inherit. The first will be an Rx command. And this will be, we're not going to send anything to this Rx command. We're just going to have void, so we can just call it on a function. And then we're going to get some kind of value, and this will be the list of cat fact. And we'll just call this get cat facts command. We're going to just copy this because we want some more commands as well. I want to be able to, what's it called? I also want to have the increment facts red, and this is a bit different. This will be a void, but instead of returning a list, we're just going to return a int, because that's just how many of the specific posts that we have pressed on. We're going to have some more here, so also we're going to have just some small getters for streams, but we're just going to keep it like this for now. We're going to create the implementation, cat fact manager implementation, which implements the cat fact manager. And we generate the 2 missing overrides. So here we have the two pretty much actions. And we are now going to first off create the what's it called? Create the first state, or the state which is going to have the facts or the red count, which is going to be an integer. Facts red count. We're just going to set that to 0 right away, and we're going to start with creating the constructor. So now inside this, we're going to define what these 2 functions are going to do, pretty much. We could separate those into their own methods, but as these are quite small, we're just going to do it this way. We will start with the getFacts command. So what this is pretty much going to do is we are going to call the name of it, of course, and we're going to set this to what it's supposed to do, and that will be an Rx command. I'm just going to close this so we can see a bit better. Rx command, and we are going to create async with no params, because when we're calling this, we actually don't want to pass anything in, as we have stated that this is going to be a void. I guess is the reason. With no parameter that returns a value. Yeah, because we have defined this as a void. So what this is going to do is that we are first off just going to define what it's going to return, which will be a list of cat fact. And then we can define what the function will be. Hello Abdul Salam, how are you doing? So here we can, let's see, can I like make this? So let me think. So we have the get facts, so this will pretty much call our service locator. Yeah. So instead of doing like this, hello Perth, awesome. Never been to Philippines. Is it nice there? Is it warm there now? Or is it cold as Sweden? And rainy? So inside this function, or this parenthesis, we're just going to call our service locator. We're just going to import that with the cat fact service. And this becomes quite long. And we're going to call, I will also pretty much like this, fetch cat facts. And we are going to emit initial command result to true. To do it right, can't be a centimeter type. Let's see here. With no params, we set in the type. Then inside, I'm just going to do like this so we can see something. Of course I did like that. There we go. There we go, because this is going to be calling the function for us. So when we pretty much did this we're saying like we're going to call this function, and then we have the emit initial command result. Sense of value, see if we can. You want to get the initial result with I believe we needed emit initial command result. I can't remember why. If you want to get the initial result with data equals null, error is equal to null, and execute is equal to null. Yeah, we can do that. So that will define the first function. Then we're going to have the second one, which is going to be the increment factor, and this will be a lot simpler. This will be an Rx command, and we are going to create sync. We're going to have the extension for the error recognition is called the error lens. So let's see here. So we create sync, and we are going to set the type, which will be void and then integer. And we could instead actually have create sync no param like that. So we don't need to specify what we're actually going to do here. And inside or let's do like this, and we can do like this instead. What is this? Start analysis. I don't care. Okay, restart it. So here we can specify that we want to take the facts read count, and we're going to increment that with 1. Or we're going to return this with a increment of 1, and then have emit last result. And with emit last result, we're pretty much saying the same thing as a behavior subject. So let's see if I can just... I have a couple of more lines than when I have zoomed in. But you can find the code in the repository as well. So with this one, we will be able to, when we call it, we will fetch the cat facts. We set the emit initial command result to true. Then for the facts read count, we create a sync function, and this will call the facts read count, increment it, and return it, and emit last result to true, which will use pretty much, if we instantiate another stream builder in another page, it will get the last value. So the same thing as a stream builder or a behavior subject. So that should be enough for now, at least. So now we can start by, did I actually create that one though? No. So we also of course have to instantiate it in the service locator, and that will be cat fact manager. It's called like that. And then the implementation. We're just going to have plural because I named the file that, but not the actual classes. There we go. So now we should have that. So now we can actually start building the UI again. And the UI is a bunch of code. See if I can copy that. So pages, we're going to create 2 pages. One is going to be called cat fact page.dart. The second one will be cat facts page.dart. So the plural one is just going to be the place where the list is going to reside. So first off, I'm just going to do the one we navigate to first, and I'm just going to copy from this one. Let's see if I can actually go to the GitHub of my MobX and see if we can copy some of the code. Yeah, MobX is pretty good to do that. We go to source, pages, and the cat fact page. Let's copy the code, and we'll get a ton of red things, and just going to fix that. We're not using provider, can get our model. So that should be enough. And now we can start to implement these two, right? So first off, these two are going to be stream builders because we're using streams now. So we're going to create a stream builder. And the facts red was a integer, I believe. So we're going to set that as an integer. We're going to have a stream, which will be the service locator. We're going to set the type, which will be the cat facts manager. And then we're going to use get it. And then we can get the increment facts red, which is a stream. For the initial data, because this is actually passing our last result, we can take this one, pass the same code right here, and then type last result. Then for the builder, we write context snapshot. And here we can pretty much return this text. And that will be the snapshot data. And this is actually a toString. Did we do it in the wrong order? Let me think. We can do .length here. Bit length. So toString. And we're going to finish that off. And now we can do the same pretty much with this one. And I believe that is the facts. I had really bad naming conventions when creating this. What is RxVMS? It's another state management solution a person has developed. Watching from India. I believe, see if I can maybe link him. Thomas, there we go. If you want to check out the actual person that made RxVMS, you can do that here. That's the link to his Twitter. Is it similar to RxStart? It's using RxStart. So if we are going, or if we go to the PubSec YAML, we can see that it uses RxStart and then in conjunction or in a combination with Rx commands. And then for instead of provider, we're using getit. And like the big pro I see with getit is that we actually don't need a context to get the different classes. So all of these are actually just the same as if you would be used to RxStart, but just with a different syntax. So we're going to do the same thing with this one. So I'm just going to check what these actually are. Even I come from the link on Twitter shared by Flutter RxVMS. Big thanks to, thank you so much. Oh, awesome. Nice to see. I really need to put more time into creating videos and stuff like that, but it just gets... Sometimes you just get drained out and you procrastinate. I'm not going to say that I don't have time. But I love to procrastinate, it seems. So let's see here. So we have the facts, and the facts is just the... Okay, so it's the length of the list. And the length of the list is the cat facts command. I believe it is. Oh yeah, it's red because we didn't specify it. So this list is going to be a list of cat facts. And the initial data will be the last result. That should be the correct way. So that can be saved. Awesome. Hi Peter, how are you doing? Okay, so we can close down the service locator. I believe we have everything for that one. Close the public YAML. The cat facts seem to be right. Let's just guess that it is. Our function for this one can be opened later because I'm going to... So for all the examples, I used getters for example, turning this red count to a toString, so we don't have to do that in the UI. That is pretty simple here. We're just going to create a stream, which is a getter, and then we're going to map that. But I will do that later. The main one is going to return the cat facts page, and we haven't created that one. The counter page can be closed, the counter can be closed, this one can be closed, and now we can create this one. And I'm going to find that in the old one. Cat facts, so let's see here. Red everywhere. Going to not use provider. Observer we're going to replace. We're going to replace this loading state with streams. The action is going to be different. This one we can import. We can remove that one, and we're going to replace this and import the other page. Okay, so quite a bit of stuff we have to fix. And let's just go from the top. So let's see here. Hey Sway, how are you doing? So here we have a observer. We're not going to use a observer here. We're going to use the stream builder. So write child, and I just let this be here just so I can remember what we're actually typing. So inside here we can use a stream builder. The type for this stream builder will be a integer, I believe, because this is the facts read, and not an interval, a integer. We can have the stream, which is SL for service locator. We're going to get the cat facts manager, and then the increment facts read. The initial value or initial data is going to be the same, but with the last result. Now the builder is just going to be the constant snapshot again. Right. So like this. So now we can return the same thing we're doing in here, but instead of doing this, we do snapshot.data. So that makes it so we have created the first one. So we're pretty much using a stream builder, setting the type for int, and the increment facts read actually has a return type of integer, which we can see right here. For the initial data, we're getting the last result from the stream pretty much, or the Rx command. And this just makes it so we don't see that flashing number when we actually get that. I can't find RxVMS repo. So RxVMS is not a package like the Flutter block or MobX. It's just a conjunction or a architecture, if you want to call it that, with different things. So it's pretty much a conjunction with using RxDart, RxCommand, and getit. So getit, you see that as a provider example, so we are providing our files to different locations. But the main difference here is that we don't need a context here, so we can actually use getit to get the classes from anywhere. We don't actually have to be inside a widget. RxCommand is just pretty much make it easier and less codey, because it helps, it pretty much does the same, or how can I explain it? So it pretty much helps us writing those streams and sinks instead of writing like a behavior subject and then defining a stream, then defining a sink. The RxCommand pretty much does both of them. We're using RxStart, so we can, for example, create observables to observe some of the state. And I will explain that also as well. So we have the body, and this one is quite red. But I really recommend to read the blog. You can find it in the description. I believe he's working on a updated blog, but it may take some time probably. So we can define our new body, which is going to be a stream builder. The type for this stream builder will be a bit different, because when we use this Rx commands, we actually get some other data we can actually work on. So we'll have the command result, and the type for that will then be the list of cat facts. If I did it correctly here. Yeah. So now we can say that the stream is going to be service locator.get. We define what we're going to get, which is going to be the cat facts manager. And then we're going to get the cat facts command. And then we have this results tag. And this is pretty much a observable from the command result list of cat facts, which you can see that we defined up here. So this will be working one. Like that. Then we have the builder, context, snapshot. So these are like the one or the main important thing I believe with like reactive programming. So if you can see it, even if it's a bit red here, with like RxStart and stuff like that, we had to define these different enums for checking the different loading states. But with this one, we can actually check the command result of the given stream or the given Rx command. So here we can type final result and set that to snapshot.data. As if you remember, we can go to result and we can see that this returns a command result of this list. So this will pretty much be the command result. So now we can start checking that one. So we can do if the result, and we can find that we have some different properties. So we have one that is called like is executing. And this one will pretty much be true when this function is loading. So this is going to be just returning a, what are you going to return? A center widget. And the child for this center widget is just going to be a circular progress indicator. Now we have some more different states. So we have the if we have data, so result.hasData. And here we can simply return what we're going to do when we actually have data, which is going to be just this builder. As you can see in this example, we had if the state is loading to none. And I didn't copy it or paste it. So this will be result.data like that. And of course, we can also like always define a variable instead of having to write that result each time. But I don't gonna bother with that. And then for the else statement, we can see here that we return a center and there was an error, so we'll do the same here. So now I can actually remove this body. So here, as we did in the other state management solutions, we actually had to define a state with the loading. And now we don't need to do that, as the command is pretty much, or the stream is pretty much handling that for us. So now for the action. So when we actually press this button, we are going to call our service locator and call get with the type, which is going to be the cat facts manager. And that will be the get cat facts command. We're pretty much going to do the same thing down here. So we'll take this one. I'm just going to replace it. So instead of get cat, so it will be the increment like that. Just popping in to say hi. Oh, it's clipping. Let's see. To say hi. We'll watch the video later. Awesome. Yeah, the video will be up later for those that missed it or came in late or want to just watch it later. That's up to you. So now if we go to main, we can now import this one. So we have some things we have to like figure out or fix. Is that if I just refresh this, we can see that we're getting some errors. Let's see what errors we're getting. From stream is executing was called on null. Okay, so let's see here. We have the cat facts page. So this is this one, cat facts command. Because we had, I'm just going to see if we actually added everything in the service locator. Implementation. Yeah, that should be enough. Yeah, okay. And the post read are null. We can see if we can find that as well. Let's see here. So let's just define like the init state, see if we can figure out why this is happening. So when this page is created, so init state, of course we're not getting the init state. Like that, we can then call our service locator from the cat facts manager and then call the get cat facts command and then call super.init state. What am I missing? Oh, we have a stateless widget here. That makes a lot of sense. Convert to stateful. So we can actually use a init state. And now this will be red. We can refresh that. Let's see if it's working a bit better. So we can see the loading happening. We can try tapping something. And we're missing some like important things that we want to do. So first off, let's see if we can fix this null value at the top. So we're actually using, so let me close this. We're actually using the increment facts red.last result, but it doesn't have any last result. So how are we going to fix that? Let's see. We could just set the actually here we could just set the initial data to 0 because we don't have any data in it yet until we actually load everything. So there we have the value right there. We can also see that we maybe want to do like this. I'm just going to see if we can fix some of the value because it may be returning the value and then incrementing. Yeah, now we can see that it increments the value right away and not after it has actually shown in the view. So now we're going to fix this page. We can see that the number of posts read is 3, which is correct, but we then return the complete list. Cat fact page, and this one, let's see, total amount of posts. We don't want to call toString, it's length. Like that, and then .toString. I believe. Or wasn't it this one? Total amount of posts. Snapshot length. Let's just see here. Okay, so it didn't just update. So we can see there, and if we press this, we're loading again. We can read some more, and that's updating the value on each place. So I just want to do one more thing, right? So the first off is that most of the times, if I just open my mobx one, mobx store. In a mobx example, we had a couple of different things. We had getters for other things. So for example, we had this facts read count, and we want to have some observables for the other ones. And I'm just going to create the ones as an example. So for example, we want this read count to be a stream. So let's define a stream of integer, which is facts read count as string, and that is going to be equal to the increment facts read dot map, because we want to map out the value, and then we just going to do value dot toString. Only static members can be defined. So I'm just going to check. I had some example where I tested this. Maybe I'm just missing something. Let's see here. First off, oh yeah, I forgot. This is actually going to be a getter, and we're not going to have a stream. It will just be an observable. Undefined class observable, but it's not, because this is a start. Let's see here. And of course, this is not going to be a int, it's going to be a string. What are we more expected to find? But we have that. So we have an observable of type string with a get, we give it a name, and we're not going to set it equal to, of course. This will be the increment facts read with map and then getting the string value. So now the places we're using the increment facts read, and we actually want to see this one instead. So first off, we're actually going to have a observable of string here, which is going to be called which is going to be a getter, and it's going to be called facts read count as string. Now we can maybe do it. So if I then where's the search? Oh yeah. So if we just go to this one, we're going to search, going to go to the different facts page. So for example, instead of having to display the data, we're doing toString. So we can then instead take the other one, which is get facts get as string. We can set the type as string, and can we get the last? That will though give some other problems. Actually, we will just keep it as it was for now, but we could just define a string like this, but it won't have the last value. Or never mind, we can actually do like this. We can do .toString on this one. That way we don't have to define toString on the actual UI code. So this will pretty much do the exact same thing, but we'll just have a option to have a facts read count as string. So now we have everything working. There we go. So I pretty much gone on very basic with RxVMS because it's a bit more complicated. The first tutorial is starting to become a bit better now, or not better. It's soon done. So hope that will be which will be with MobX. And yeah, that's pretty much all. I will upload this to the GitHub repo, which you can find in the description. If you would want to, which would really help, is just like the video, leave a comment if you want to. It really helps. And I will see you in the next one, guys. Bye.